Okay, round two in the technical challenge today with Michael Conroy. Hopefully, round two will get this going. So, yeah, lots of emotional rambling from before, but I'm very, very excited now. Instagram, please don't play with my emotions today. Oh, hello, Shanita. Yeah, so just very excited. I'm super emotional. So please forgive me today. This man's art's incredibly challenging and fantastic to look at, and it makes you question a lot of things. So thank you so much for coming back and bearing with us. This is just Instagram, please play nicely. Come on. I'm so very excited today. I'm very excited at every conversation, so just work. So yeah, just don't really know what to tell you guys other than, aha, here he is now. I shall send a request. Dun, 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 dun. And hopefully it works this time. Yay!
Hey, victory, victory.
Oh yes,
Turn my way.
excellent.
Should I
Oh,
turn this way?
perfect.
Okay, cool. Sorry.
No, no worries.
That was,
We'll
this is,
blame Instagram.
yeah, I agree completely. It's funny, all these things are like, even like, I don't know, like you'll see some guy on the news and he's like, "Hey, can you see me? Like, what's like MSNBC, like major conglomerate networks, they'll be like, can you, hold on, my dog with me. Hold on. Hold on, the lights are out. You're like, everyone's a mess.
Have you seen how many people have been caught with like just their top and then like their bare thigh, like when the
Yeah, yeah.
cat, like when they move their chair back, and you're like, dude, you should
Yeah,
have
you
just.
can see them like there's like a kid that they're like, get out of here, get out of here. I'm like, I'm on the news. I'm with Anderson Cooper. Leave my leg alone.
No, it's
Yeah.
brilliant.
Oh,
I am enjoying not having children and all my friends around me with them because I've heard their parent voice. They're like one,
yeah.
two, and I start laughing on the phone, and then they get to two, and I'm like, oh shit, what happens at three? And they're like, I don't get to three. I was like, oh, I'm
You're like,
terrified of.
really? You got it good. I'm pretty sure my mother got to three a few times. Had to whoop me.
Oh no, my own mother got to three plenty before even one and two. I'm very sure of it.
Yes.
I don't think I
Yes.
knew about one.
Right. Hence not being able to figure out how to get on Instagram Live. Directions have never been my acute learning skills have never been strong.
Uh, but yeah, if we can just start with a basic introduction from you, and then we'll kick off with some topics. You've made me very emotional today. I can't lie. I was nearly in tears on the introduction of the first one. I was like, I don't know what to say, but like in a great way. Sorry,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
forgive me. I'm very emotional today from you. I'm blaming you and Instagram.
That okay? That's okay. I will take the blame. The so an intro. I don't know, just what give like a little spiel on like what I do and all
Yeah.
that good stuff. All right, so I'm a painter. Um, so I guess like the oil paint, like all the boring details. I guess I paint canvases with oil paint mostly. Uh, I would call it somewhere in between expression, just because you almost have to like put yourself in a category for some reason. So I might like if I identify with expressionistic painters or expressionistic art, so I would consider my art expressionism because that's like most directly describing it. It is like an expression of a feeling depicted with image. Um, but it's definitely figurative as well. Like it's pretty much impossible to paint without including some sort of human figure because the content is always kind of being derived from humanity. So it feels like incomplete. Like I've painted stuff that's like more abstract and it just doesn't feel okay. Like it feels like a lie. It feels like fake if I don't have like some reference. So that would be like a long-winded description of what expressionism is to me. Uh, I love using like texture, spray paint. I grew up in Boston, but in Dorchester, so it's like you know, it's like a melting pot kind of. It's like a urban area. So hip hop and graffiti and I grew up like, you know, 90s were like my prime, I guess. But like so that stuff, that all those cultural imprints have just been on me. So I like to use that type of stuff. And yeah, and so it's really just like I guess that's just kind of like what, and I just resonate, like it ends up being a lot of like cultural, social, or like addressing topics like that just from my own personal experiences I've witnessed, and I guess just my own like things that just resonate with me. I'm gonna, you know, I think most artists are just gonna express whatever resonates with them, and that's not necessarily right or wrong, any of those topics, but as long as it's just trying to create some sort of continuity to truth. Like, this is what resonates with me, this is what I'll express, because whether my opinions are right or wrong, I know my, you know, that my heart is in them.
Yeah.
And that's all I got, basically.
Well, and to expand on that, I think that's where I spoke with you briefly before we had this chat about how your first piece that introduced me to you kind of felt a bit Basquiat-y, and then I got into your stuff, and I've been stalking you sort of for 2 days, just going through your work. And because I always love to feel, you know, I'm following you because I like the things that you're doing, but then I like to sit with the paintings and like really understand how they make me feel. And that's why I think I'm so emotional today. Especially like just a few minutes ago, I could feel literal tears in my eyes, because there is obviously the very, you know, social sort of surroundings that we're in at the moment don't help. You know, when something sad and horrific happens, it doesn't always help. But like you say, when you put your heart on, it's sort of a thread throughout all your work from the very beginning. And I resonated so much. You talk a lot about how, you know, there's a lot about addiction, there's a lot about trying to overcome things and gun violence, and it is, I wouldn't say it's superly heavily politically charged, but it's how I feel when I look at your stuff. I want to go and protest and save the world and hold up one of your paintings, because the way that you use words, and even the ones that don't have words in them, I find them incredibly powerful and really honest. And I just wanted to say thank you, because you deal with some subjects that are really incredibly difficult, and I think the way that you deal with them, it comes across as really honest, but also very confrontational. Like, I don't feel like someone could look at your work and not feel either really overwhelmed with something. Like, there is a power behind what you do, quite infinitely. So,
Oh, that is incredibly flattering. And you hit me with the goosebumps too. What are you trying to do? Are you trying to make this a crying session now?
I'm really not together, dude. If you can,
yeah, right. What are you doing? Don't bring me into this. Cry on your own.
And it's just like, I think because you're so honest and it was so raw, and it's things like, especially, and to live in the UK, and I look over to America, a few of my friends live there, and I'm like, but all the Americans I know they're not stupid people. You know, they don't believe and support the things that I see are happening on the news that we get from you. And I'm like, how is this still allowed?
Because we have a whole middle of the country. That's
oh no, we do too in England.
We have a bunch of land in the middle. Something about not being able to see the ocean, I think, messes people's psyches up.
I think. But you're onto something for real.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's funny. People, yeah, like America gets represented. Like I grew up in an urban area, so it's like I grew up around different cultures. So it was and to back up, like mainly I grew up with a mother and grandmother who were filled with love, and my father too. But like they were like the most influential people, and they were not bitter people. They were not judgmental. I never once heard them disassociate anyone from anything due to anything other than maybe a character flaw, like a literal something undesirable that someone did, but it had nothing to do with where you came from.
Yeah.
So that's the foundation, no doubt. But then, I think it gets, depending on how you are as a person, that gets either enhanced or taken away when you grow up in diversity. to say that when you grow up somewhere else, sometimes with no, it's like I don't know is basically the answer. It's confusing. It's confusing from over there. I can see it's also confusing and completely enraging here.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like for me, the subject matter that you tackle, I feel, and I've had this conversation with a UK. Well, she's UK based, but she's African and she's struggling very hard to, like I am South African, but I'm really from England. So I really struggle because I don't fit in England as much as I fit into South Africa. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I don't know, I don't have a lot in common. So I find I need cultural diversity a lot. Mm-hmm. And I feel a lot of the time I struggle a lot with the blatant racism that still keeps happening all the time, every single day. And like, that is exhausting. So I think through art, I always admire people who are so confident and brave when they portray the things that you talk about, because they are things like you have a piece, fuck the NRA. Mm. I couldn't stop staring at it, and then I just wanted to cry and I couldn't watch it anymore. And then I was like, okay, next painting quickly. But it's gun violence. Like I've lost my father to somebody shot him and he died in surgery. And for me, I couldn't even watch something with a gun in it for many, many, many years, because that took the life force out of somebody. Mm-hmm. For nothing. Mm-hmm. For absolutely, like, they didn't get to steal anything. Like, it just was a horrible situation. And it must be so frustrating to be there and sort of to be in this diverse culture and love all these different things and watch sort of other white people take the piss. You know what I mean? And
yeah, it's just privilege they get to. They have the luxury to.
100%. But thank you so much for dealing with those. But anyway, the initial inspiration
we have the luxury to. Let me not disassociate myself from that. As much as I may lean towards any sort of stance, the fact of the matter is my experience is very different and will never be replicated, ever. It can be empathized at best.
No, 100%. You're absolutely right. So if we can stray away from me just being so emotional about all the things that we'll talk about, your initial inspiration into your field, were you sort of doing this from when you were super little? How did you come into creativity and expression?
It's kind of I
want to cover it all.
Yeah, all right. I was going to say I'm pretty long-winded in general, but this has like a couple sentences because it's not a direct route. So I did not grow up in creativity at all, or at least identifying it as creativity, I should say. So I grew up, where I grew up, it was very traditional. It was like Boston or Massachusetts is a funny place because it's it's one of the most liberal states in America, but it's socially conservative. So it's like a weird juxtaposition to like have both of those things that operate together. It's like, it was just like art wasn't, at least in my experience, and I think I could speak to like probably my neighborhood at large, art or creativity was not something you thought of other than like sneakers and having like fresh gear. Like that, which was creativity, but I don't ever recall the word creativity being used at all. Like it's a word I don't recall even hearing the word. You would listen to music and no one would refer to them as like artists in a sense. So it was like basically detached. So the answer is no, and I didn't realize I did creative things until I started like creating like art. What I would then be like, oh, I think this is art. But looking back, I was always like writing or create. Like I had this I'm an only child. I'd be like making costumes and doing all sorts of crazy shit. Like I'd be, my mother would be watching TV. I'd come out like dressed like Michael Jackson or some shit, or have like a sock hanging out of my pants because I thought I was a Thundercat, and I'd like go out like that. I'd be like, I'm gonna just wear the sock today. So like looking back, I was a little off. But I was also like I was like creating shit. But, and my mother probably didn't know that was creativity. So what I'm saying is like that whole like environment no one knew. So you wouldn't have been like, oh, that like now if I had a child right now, I'd be like, oh, that kid looks like he's pursuing creativity. Let me introduce him to the arts. It wasn't there. Not negligent. It just wasn't part of the society that I was in, anyways. So no is the answer. And then, but I would always write. I would write poems. I would write songs. I would do all this other stuff. And then years later, when in my like 20s, like my late 20s, I started started like designing my own clothes a little bit. Like I would like literally like draw out clothes and take them to this tailor that could like, because I can't sew, and he'd like do them, and that like those things started happening, and I would start to go to like museums, and I started realizing like, oh shit, this is like creativity. Like this is what an artist might do. Long story short, then I couldn't quite figure out what was inside me and needed to get out, and I ended up painting. Kind of out of chance. I just was like, I'm gonna buy a canvas. I had taken guitar lessons. I was doing all sorts of shit trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And I painted, and when I did, it like literally, like I could feel it. Like it felt like something. I could feel something. Like I was breathing heavy. I was honestly, when I was doing it, I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? And I just was like, I want that feeling, because I like to feel good all the time as much as possible. I just like to I like to be on a 10, 1,000% of the time.
That's a great goal.
I just wanted to do that. So I just wanted to chase that feeling, and then one thing led to another, and someone was like, that's really good painting. And I'm like, what? Like, I didn't even know you could like sketch on a painting. Like, I didn't know that. I was like, like, I didn't know anything about it. And then it just kind of basically felt good. And
because I draw a tiny similarity in
oh shit.
Oh.
My phone fell. I got a really janky setup right here. It's like I got like my phone.
If I was to turn mine around, you would see what was holding my phone up, and it's not okay. It's just a glass from my kitchen downstairs.
The mug that was holding if you heard that, the mug that was holding my phone up just fell off the other thing that I had set up, rolled off my table and onto the floor, and it no longer lives.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It's just because it feels so much better to talk to you, not like up or down. It's too weird for me.
No, it's cool. But I was like, oh, look at that. That thing's gone.
I draw a kind of parallel now that you've pointed out your life. I grew up in South Africa, and I was in what we would call like a low income area. Yeah. I went to like a nice enough school because I was in the catchment area, but like my area was super rough. Lots of graffiti influence and stuff like that. And I think, the first time I was ever taken to a museum was the first time I sort of was like, wow, this is awesome. And you like you said, it's not negligent. It's just go outside and play, and like just take care of yourself and we did have iPads and stuff like that, like growing up in that era. So it was really take care of yourself. So your Thundercat sock was the perfect creativity, you know what I mean? Now kids will get the whole outfit, and it's like, you didn't work hard for that outfit. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is. It's just like about exposure, and I think you make a good point too with the with now you can go on Instagram or Facebook or whatever, and or just Google. Like we didn't like have the internet. That seems like ridiculous, but now you can be like, you'll just find out. It's more accessible. Like in the public school system, there weren't like art classes. Like you had music class. I remember having music class, which was like you'd be like do, re, fa, lo, si, whatever the hell that shit is, and then like and then but there was no art class. Like it just. But even like in the neighborhoods, and that's what freaks me out so much, is the graffiti is so sick. It's like the worse the neighborhood, I find the better the quality of graffiti, because they had to steal that paint, they had to run away from the police, like it's the hearts on the wall, or they're just degenerates, like it's one or the other. Yeah. But I find there's nowhere for, there's so few times that in those sort of urban areas that there is anything where it's just, here's something creative on the side of the road for you. Like, why aren't you just even getting murals on the wall? Like, I never understand how governments and different councils don't see the sort of upliftment in art and involving the community more, because there's so much creativity out of the trauma that these people go through that you'll end up addressing things that people need to address. So it just, for me, is a bit. And when you said that, I thought actually my neighborhood, there was nothing pretty anyway. Sure. It was just real functional, and we made fun. Like we had
Yeah.
parties, lots of like. I had a great childhood. Don't get me wrong, but it wasn't. There was nothing to really promote that type of thing either. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
are you now? I've looked through your website, and your CV is mind blowing, man. You've done some phenomenal things. So are you now able to work as an artist full time, or do you do it alongside another profession?
No, I do other stuff. I
How
have
is
to
that,
hustle.
how was that leap if you are now an artist full time?
So like my mind is an artist full time. But
Excellent.
if that makes, and I don't mean that like facetiously. Like I mean like all my goals, opposed to thinking about it and creating it, like everything is geared towards the progression of art, so I can live and sustain off of it 100%. But I do
Yeah.
have to hustle other ways to like make rent and make do different months. If I'm selling paintings, like it's great and that, but it's like anything else. I don't have exclusive gallery representation.
Mm.
So if I could have a great month and then and then not a great month. So I have to make sure that I'm able to sustain that money
And
by other hustles.
so we had one artist who had a brilliant way. She was like, "No, I find time to work. I don't find time to create." And I feel some of that kind of energy from you too. The way that you answered that was like, "Well, I'm an artist all the time." How do
Yeah.
you? Is it sort of something that you struggle with to find that sort of time when you have limited time to be creative, sort of when you need to be because of time restraints, or is it just still something that has to organically happen?
Yeah,
Like
no,
how?
it sucks going back and forth. Because they're two totally different things. Like one is like work that
Mm.
isn't art, right? Work is a capitalistic endeavor. Like the mindset is completely different. Like it's not really creative. It's more aggressive. It's more like opportunities based seeking due to just capital. Where
Yeah.
art is not, for me anyways, it's not like it's all the other stuff that goes into it that makes it actually have any economy. It's like all the things that you were saying, like the truth, the things that resonate, so you have like the mindset to get to this thing that might make you money is totally different. So to answer your question, yeah, it sucks going back and forth, and it is
Yeah.
hard to be focused on some business so I say real estate too. So it's hard to like do that and be thinking in this like way and then just shift right over to creating. It's also hard within art too, it's hard to create art and then try to then be like, all right, let me like post this thing on Instagram and make sure I have like a hashtag and like let me assess where I have desires I have desires to show art in London, right? And in Paris, obviously, I'm only grandiose. Like I just have desire, just a little bit, like just a small amount of ambition. I'd like to show art in London, Paris, Tokyo, New York. Like, yeah, just moderate goals. But but you then have to be like basically you can't just paint. Like no one's gonna knock on my door and be like, hey, your art is amazing, and we would like you to show your art at whatever the MoMA. Like that's not how it works. Like you have to try. So even that is hard. Even that is like, all right, I painted, and now I gotta like think of it as this like, where's my opportunities lie?
Yeah, because that's my next thing is to say, how is it that you identify a new project? Because I can see in the last few feeds you have hashtag Art6 project.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that correct? Yeah. So how is it that you, like you say, no one is knocking down your door. How do you identify your next project?
Failing, basically. Nothing that can be quantified is actual success. Yeah.
Take note, guys. Failing.
Yeah.
Check.
Yeah, I feel that Art6 thing has that was not commissioned with anyone. That was not designed to make money. I paid for it. I lost money. But I wanted to do something, and I wanted to feel useful, and I wanted to find a way to bring something what I would deem as positive, just in the quietness of my heart. Like, I feel like I took a positive step towards a problem in the world. Right now, no one has to agree if that's positive or not, but like in my heart, I know it is. So then it was about also kind of being like, fuck you, city. Like, because I do different things. I'll submit to the city, I want to do an art project here or there. And they're too bureaucratic. They're like, no, you don't, wait, you're not as marketable enough for us, or whatever they do. I don't know what they do. But so I was like, I'll do my own thing. Fuck you. And so I just started putting art out. And if it was like one person appreciated it, then that's all that really matters. And eventually, like, I guess to speak to the opportunity part is like, I feel like, and I don't know if this is correct, if one person, if art resonates with one human being in a very genuine way, that person may or may not be an art buyer, maybe not in the position to buy art financially, whatever it is, but if it resonates with the human being, like one person at a time is how you, I think, would build, like, it's about that resonation, and eventually you will get in front of people that buy art, right? And then there's a commerce. But if it's not based in truth, like, it doesn't really matter. So it's like weird. It's like both things work with each other, but they don't actually coexist at the same time.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because, like you say, your intent, I think, like, that's the thing that I think is the best word to use. Your intent from the beginning of the sort of art journey I've seen you on till currently, your intent seems to be, I don't know, honorable is a good word, I think, to use. Not arrogant, but honorable is a nice word. Sorry, I'm just trying to think. Words are very powerful.
You
I don't
wouldn't
want
be the first person to call me arrogant, by the way, so.
I'm not the. Did I call you arrogant?
You wouldn't be the first person to use the word arrogant, so don't worry about it. I've been called worse.
To be fair, there has to be an arrogance in all of us artists to be able to even produce a little bit of our soul on a page, because we believe other people need to see it. And thank God, so many people need to see it. For real, thank God for artist arrogance, or the world would be a really blank page. And I know people like, I don't mean real arrogance, like, just a bit of ego.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No, but it's amazing because I think, the intent, and you can start to see, like, a lot of artists that I've followed in the past, like, I've watched their intent disappear. The bigger they're getting and the more numbers, and then they're on there talking about someone stealing their stuff. And I'm like, bro, yours is a whole composition of people's shit.
Of stolen
just
shit.
with a funny outline. Like, outline makes it yours for real, and the composition, but you legitimately picked the idea up. So, and we all do it. We all steal. I steal from the female form, the male form. I steal directly from God's work.
Yeah.
From Nick. I think, to turn away from that, or when your intention becomes impure, or you are just sort of, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make a living from your art. But when it becomes that, like, I must be the best artist and I must have the most power, it's like, it's really sick. It's like you belong in a boardroom. Yeah. They play like that real well.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
it's hard to in the art world.
It's ego, I guess, right? Like, and not to say that everyone has ego. Like, every human being literally has ego. It's essential. It's needed to have, like, self-propulsion, to have, like, self-worth. But when it gets out of control, that it becomes, like, about stomping on someone to get ahead. And
it seems
that just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah, it seems kind of, I feel personally offended when artists turn into douchebags. I'm like, really? Like, we don't have enough douchebags everywhere else? Do we have to really have you in this bubble? Ugh.
Yeah.
Really cool. And then, so obviously there's a long, wonderful career ahead of you, but so far, what's been your proudest moment to date? Specifically in regards to your art. I mean, you can show us your life's proud work too if you want. But
no, they would be the same, to be honest.
Okay.
So I would say that probably a couple things. So I did this, like, thing that was a little art thing at this store one time, and the and it wasn't like it wasn't I wasn't gonna be famous. I wasn't gonna make money on it. It was just something you got to do in the process. So like as far as like monetary or like notoriety, that wasn't there. But someone just thanked me for, like, we had a conversation, and he like texted me a few days later and was like he was gonna start making some more fashion and stuff. He just was like inspired by the fact that I was doing something, and that was like that like touched me so deeply, and it made it feel like worth it. And I guess anytime I have a painting on mental health, and I had a show, and after some lady came to me and said that she has mental health issues, or it's rampant in her family, and she was like, "Thank you for painting that and being willing to like talk about that." And I was like, that stuff, those two things are that a couple of those have happened, like moments like that. I have a painting on the AIDS epidemic, and someone who's surviving with HIV for years now bought that painting, and it was like, so something that I did that like about this topic that I don't have anything to do with necessarily, that does have something to do with it in a real way. It was able to connect, and that was those are the best. Those are absolutely the best things.
Well, I mean, that's just, I think, what a better, you couldn't be proud of something better, because the way that you, like, I don't want to say aggressive, because I think we throw that term around too much, but it is very in your face. And the things that I had to address reading some of your words, I just was cursing you for putting them down, and I was like, oh my God. And I was just like bawling my eyes out, and I was like, okay, this is not appropriate. But the things that you deal with touch so deeply to my personal experience that it can't just be me. You know what I mean? I talk to loads of artists, and they also get the same thing where, when they do deal with mental health things, people come up to them and they thank them so deeply, because I think our mind's well-being is the last thing that we're concerned about. It's like, go to gym and eat right. And it's like, this is, if you're not okay here, it doesn't matter what you do everywhere else. Like, so it's so important that I think artists like you keep going with the themes that you deal with. Like, addiction is incredible. It's touched like my heart really, really close to home. I have a biological mother that's been addicted to drugs my whole life. And it's really, really sad to see someone go through that, and then to not really think about it, but to see one of your pieces that deals with addiction, and I'm just like, oh my God, it's exactly how it feels. And it's like some of them have been like an ARB addiction, like one you did on sex addiction. Not that I was Freudian and thought about sleeping with my mom, but the imagery was so, like, it was so powerful, and what that must feel like to be, you've put that drug ahead of what most mothers, your children are everything as far as society is concerned, but a drug addict will put a drug ahead of their own child. And I think we very rarely deal with, like, what was the trauma that led her to those drugs and choosing that lifestyle? I don't understand that. I don't think she knows it either. But there's not a safe space for her to go and explore that without, like, oh, she's a nutter. And it's like, not really. Like, she's just traumatized.
She's a person. Yeah.
Like, I don't hate her, but like, she's a human, and obviously gone through something quite horrific. And the boldness of the imagery and the colors and the words that you choose they're very powerful. You have a real gift to portray. It almost is like it sounds strange to say watching a poem, but it kind of is like but it feels strange because you got one called, I think it's Rain Dance. And it's got all this really emotive brushwork around it, and I'm like, I still feel like I'm watching a poem, even like there's no words with this one. So yeah, you get a very powerful feeling from your work if you spend real time to sit with it. I think it's easy to watch, like after I sat with it, I watched, the documentary and stuff that you were saying aligned with how I felt, and I felt that was good. But yeah, it's important to go and sit with your work, I think, to really see how do you feel once you've addressed those things in you, because you bring up heavy subject matter, and it's but it's also really fun. Your stuff has like this childlike element of like the way that you do your portraits and stuff. It's really maybe it's fresh more so than young, but like it feels young. I don't know if
I'm
I'm
highly
explaining.
mature, so that would make sense.
Well, I mean, but much less disrespect than you just gave yourself. I'll just say it's very youthful. There we go. That's the expensive art word I was looking for.
That is youthful. Youthful's like the most. Yeah, youthful's like you're like, oh, that's kind of intellectual.
There you go. I'm almost good at this. You're very youthful.
Yeah, youthful. You can like pridefully be like, I'm youthful, but no one ever be like, I'm immature.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Like,
I'm very youthful.
Yeah, what's the difference? Yeah, I mean, I thank you for seeing all that, because it's you're reading it correctly. Even that rain dance one, it's like it's funny. That's like one of the prettier paintings I've painted. Like it would
More
be
a painting, yeah.
Yeah, it's more like and it's funny. Like people, you can always this is a judgment, I guess, but like people that like I'm trying to choose my words carefully, but people that like surfacely like art love. Like I love that painting. I'm like, of course you do. It doesn't make you actually have to feel anything if you don't want to. The other shit is like, you better fucking feel some shit. But that painting, it's funny that you picked up on that. Like that was a painting of someone who like they were dancing. I was watching this person dance, and I had known their backstory. It was after they had like graduated school, which was like a long journey to graduate, and knowing the backstory of that. And there was also addiction and a difficult situation in that too with a parent, and knowing the backstory. When I was watching this person dance, like what I saw, what I felt was that it wasn't a dance of like celebration, more as like this like trying so hard to be better than what you thought you were. It was like almost like a resentful like I could feel the pain in it. Like I could literally feel the hurt, and which is so. That's what I interpreted. Now I could be completely wrong. I don't know. I never asked. I was not like, what were you feeling exactly when you like? I don't know, but that's what I like emoted from it. Like that's what I picked up on. So it's funny that you. And then when I painted that, that's what I was painting. And it's funny that you see that. But 9 out of 10 people are like, oh, it's beautiful. It's just like it's a girl dancing.
Bless 99% of you.
Yeah, I'm like that's not the happiest painting in the world. Like I got like 2 happy paintings. Yeah.
But I don't feel the sadness that I feel when I'm so moved by it. It's not like sadness. Like it's just that the things that I have to ignore because they cause me so much pain, you're just forcing me to address them. Yeah. Because I can't look away, because there is also so much happening that I want to see this, and then there's something going on over here, and then there's words, and I'm like, oh fuck, how do I feel about this? Next picture.
I don't feel like it's funny. Like I get it. Like it looks sad, it looks heavy, but like to me, I'm painting optimism. To me, in my mind, when I'm doing it, like.
It doesn't feel like depression sad. It just feels like, fuck, we need to talk about this. Yeah. And that's the sadness, not the I want to lie down for 3 days after looking at your stuff. I want to go change the whole world. Yeah. And then I'm like, oh, the world sucks.
Yeah, like, that's a lot of work.
We do better.
Maybe I'll just get a sandwich. I feel like, and the other, it is like, so I've been on this like thing for like a while. Like I actually have a show that I'm trying to get somewhere at some point, but I don't usually put like concepts together because I feel like everything is kind of under one like loose umbrella concept. But I have a show called The United States of Shame, and so it's like all of a sudden I ended up with a collection of paintings that were all essentially talking about shame. They're talking about multiple different like next level, next surface thing, like addiction or sex addiction or abortion or whatever it is, but it all came back to like shame. And when you're saying all that, it's like, so to me, it's like all these different topics that are very difficult to talk about, which seem like they drive us apart. To me, I feel like they have the opportunity to bring us together, that they're actually very common. And the underpinnings of most of these struggles are shame. It's literally the insidious failing of shame that then results in like when you spoke about your mother and you're talking about, I don't know what happened there, but and it doesn't even have to come from trauma. It can be the action that then you then somehow got into, which is not aligning with your moral guidelines, and it produces shame, and that shame keeps you quiet. It like makes you shut up and not be able to talk to. So when I'm painting stuff, like what I really want or what I'm hoping to happen, I guess, and this is for me, this is therapeutic for me. This is, and I think this is why I will try to be so vulnerable, is because I'm telling my story. I'm not, and I know it is many people's story. So it's like trying to, like, what can that dialogue do? And it's weird, like having experienced what art can do. It's like, I feel like because paintings are not words, they have words in them, but they're this visual thing that doesn't speak, right? They don't have sound. So I've experienced like being with someone who's looking at maybe a show or whatever, and being with someone and we're talking about the subject matter. It's clear that it's kind of about me, and I'm willing to talk about that. This person who is maybe not right there yet, or we aren't that close, maybe, like not everyone should talk about everything with everyone all the time. The painting ends up being this like tripod of like unspoken support, which I feel like it expedites conversations that typically would not happen.
Yes.
And my theory, for whatever reason, my hypothesis on it is that it's because it doesn't speak. And that kind of goes to the shame, where shame makes it very difficult to speak. So these quiet paintings and their silence almost, and being able to reflect the subject matter to this third object that has no opinion, is the vehicle that allows conversations to move quicker into a direction of vulnerability and truth. That I've literally experienced that. I've experienced that. And not only have I experienced that, I've had better friendships come out as a result of that. Like literal deeper connections with people. Not like, I'm not saying, this is not like some altruistic bullshit. Like, it literally has happened in life. Not like that's a small section of the time, because there was a relationship that predated that. But like, so that's like what I think of. It's like, if that can happen and that's real, where can you take that? Like, how far can you take that and create actual meaningful dialogue that can actually produce change? Like, that's what I think.
I think that the tripod of support, I think that's phenomenal. And I think so many artists, especially in a gallery setting, don't even realize that we do have them as tripods of support, because I love to watch artists that have like social skills that are not the greatest. But when they stand next to their piece of work and someone asks them something that or someone gets it, and they just emanate this light and they like change the composition of who they are a bit for that time that they're able to connect with what they're doing. And having the artwork standing there, it's almost like you don't have to say anything. Like, that is what I feel. Now you have to tell me what you feel, and like, I'm safe here because mine's really out here. All of it's on the page for you to see. And it makes people who don't create, not that can't, because everyone can, the ones that don't create get really uncomfortable, because you do, well, especially work like yours, incites a very real emotion in someone, because it deals with the things that, like you say, I always think that the more we discuss stuff openly and without shame, like, it's really tragic, the thing that I can't speak to my biological mother anymore. Like, it's a really sad story. It's really horrible. But at the end of the day, like, I have to address what that's done in my life. And that's what some of your paintings made me have to look at today, which I don't want to look at. I don't want to look at that relationship and think of all the tough things, but there's something that I have to think about. So it's very, very powerful. And yeah, I just love that tripod of support.
Yeah,
cool.
It's like, I didn't like that. I just experienced it, and was like, and then on reflection was like, oh shit, I think that's kind of like what happens. It wasn't like this, like, it wasn't from egotistical. I wasn't like, I'm gonna be a tripod. Like, I'm gonna set out with this mission and like I'm gonna make it. Like, that wasn't. It just like was happening and was like, oh shit, I think that's like kind of might be the reason. Because why else? Why else would that, like, that typically would not take place? And then too, what I was just thinking of too, side note about like something that can be frustrating in art, is you know how a lot of organizations will want you, when you said like you stand next, I'm commenting directly to what you said about when you stand next to an artist who might be socially awkward and not be able to express it the way they want, and then they light up and they can speak this language through their painting. But like, have you ever, so many art organizations want an artist, a painter, to write this elaborate, like, conceptual pitch for an art show, and you're like, I'm not a fucking writer. Like, why are you giving writing assignments to visual artists? Like, it's so
I don't
stupid.
get that either. But why not also sit with the artist's work, have a critical opinion, discuss them with the artist, and then you write? Because I do enjoy either a title, but this is specifically for me. Like, I like a bio on the wall so I can learn more about the person, but that's like, I like to know more.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if there's nothing with it. If the artwork speaks to me, it's going to talk to me either way. But when you have an
barometer, it's not like.
But it's so hard to ask these humble, loving people who are just trying to create to then stick their own head up their own bum. Like, can you not do it for me? Just kiss my ass a tiny amount. As the artist, you need to create, and just put up factual things if you don't want to kiss my ass. Like, I was born here. This is, I work with acrylic. But why leave it on top of all the pressure of that night on the artist? I don't understand that.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And I've literally had like some feedbacks that like I didn't get, which I think is really important to talk about, because people, like, when you're pursuing art, like, it's mostly failure until it's success, right? Like, that's like, so I get way more no's. I get way more people being like, I think I'm gonna buy that painting, and they don't buy it. Like, that's like, that's 99% of it. So it's like, but I've had feedback being like, we really like the art, but like, could you write it better? I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Like, I'm like, so you like the paintings, but I didn't write the script good enough? Like, it's an art show about paintings. Like, why is the literature leading the way?
I know, and it's so weird. Like, in my collective, when we put on a show, I have to say to them, look, I know you don't want to do this, but you have to, if you want to, other galleries, and I hand them out the things I get when I go and see other galleries, and I'm like, this is what other artists are doing. I'm happy to try to help you, but you have to write some stuff maybe. And then I always feel it's like, I could write it so much better about these other, maybe not about myself, but about other people. Like, the sun shine out your bum. It's no problem. Yeah. But to ask the artist on top, like, when I had my first solo exhibition, I just lay on the floor in a pile. Just like, my sister's like, oh, hello, are you okay? And I was like, oh, it's going to be okay. Like, I had to go through that. So the next time I see an artist in a pile on the floor, I'm like, oh, someone got an exhibition. How are you doing?
Right. Yeah.
Put yourself in their position. But I'm like, galleries take an extortionate sum. I don't want to be horrible, but the ones I've found out, it's like 50% of what you're showing. And I don't always agree with that when you are, again, asking the artist to please write all this stuff. Like, I'd like a champagne service. If you're taking 50% of the stuff I'm putting heart and soul into, treat me like a rock star.
Yeah. Or like, what's jack up, like, not jack up the prices, that sounds shitty, but like, okay, like, what's your, if like a gallery has a good system, right? And they're like,
they bring it.
Yeah,
but
right. That's like, great. This is a business relationship that I want. You're going to bring me my business. I don't have to do any of that shit. And you're going to take some money. Yeah, that's what all business is. Like, of course, I'd happily hand you 50% of that. But then some of them are like, I can't do I've made a decision to not do a lot of the, like, around here, they'll have a lot of, like, you can be a member of this thing. It's like $150 a month. I'm like, and you can show like once a year. I'm like, so I'm gonna pay you whatever, $1,400 a year. You're gonna then keep 20%. You want me to work a desk, and then you're gonna give me I'm like, I on my own can do enough pop-up shops. Like, I'll pay for it myself, and I'll sell one painting and make my money back. Like, why? And it's like, I feel like it takes advantage of artists. It's like, and I don't like that. I don't like the fact that an artist will then take advantage of an artist. Like, it's like, there's no actual traction to be made here. Yeah. There's like, not in a literal sense. So how I couldn't, I don't like that.
But the fundamental reason I started the collective and got this pop-up space in London, which you're free to exhibit at, was we were struggling to find any way to get any space anywhere, like to be taken seriously, because we don't have art degrees and things like that. A lot of us are self-taught, and it's like, but I just want to bring artists a platform where they can do what they like. Like, you can have one painting in the bar, you could have 39 paintings. It's like, it's your gallery to have for that pop-up time.
Yeah.
And it's been such a joy to have artists be really super grateful. And I'm like, well, it's just a little bar. And they're like, no, you don't charge us money. You're here to support. And then we get to have a fun party after. And I'm like, well, that's kind of what I want to have when
you say it that way. Sounds pretty good.
Not really that bad, guys. It's pretty good fun.
Yeah.
But galleries I find wonderful to go to. I really thoroughly enjoy them, but it's an incredibly elitist system that I find incredibly hard to become a part of. So I've started to try to make my own because
you have to.
Yeah, and I get it where we're paying rent and we're doing things, and when they're bringing you clients and things like that, but we're also a lot of the time exploiting those artists to a massive degree, and you're not treating them as nice as you treat the client upstairs. Do you know what I mean? It just, for me, the balance is not very cool.
And I think too, you can, I think there is space to be simultaneously traveling both roads. You know what I mean? Like, I think like, you can be like, I am going to create my opportunities. There's certain organizations that I am not willing to participate with. I'm going to continue to do what I think is right and I view as opportunistic in whatever way. And then when if it's a gallery or whatever presents itself and it matches and it's in line with like what I'm trying to do, then like that's good. Like, it can be multiple things. It just I think it's just important to like kind of try to understand what means something to you, because at the end of the day, like, if you're compromising this thing that you're literally like creating, it's not going to feel good. It's going to feel like another job. Like, isn't that the whole? I mean, I am pursuing art because I'm scared. I'm afraid to work like a normal person. Like, I'm essentially afraid of adulthood, and so I'm gonna try to be like. There's this line in a hip hop artist where he says, he's like, I'm writing for my life because I'm scared of a day job. And I'm always like, yeah, I understand that. Yeah,
that's pretty true. Working our ass off not to have a day job.
Yeah, I know. Literally, but it don't feel like work. Working my ass off to not have a day job.
Yeah, fucking hell, man.
It is funny. People, you'll like talk to people who will be like, wow, it must be so nice to be able to do that. And you're like, yes, you're absolutely correct. You're like, but it is not who do you think buys this art? Didn't come pre-made. Like, I had to buy all this shit. Like, I had to, like,
all your expertise of, like, even yesterday I broke out some new paints I haven't used in a while, so to do some test pieces. That's my time testing how that paint works together to create an outcome that is aesthetically pleasing to you to want to buy it.
Yeah.
Why did it negate all my experiences leading up to that point?
Yeah.
Just because in this painting they're not necessarily expressed, but you've spent hours figuring out what does what on wood, what does what on canvas, what does what on walls. That's important, and that's what people need to understand what they're paying for when they pay for art.
Yeah.
Is your understanding that this artist has spent hours wanting to punch things through a wall, throw stuff away, feel the lowest that they've probably ever felt in their lives while creating something super beautiful for you to enjoy.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. I think every painting I make, like there's a moment, there's like this period where I'm like, this sucks. I am an idiot. Why am I even painting? Who I am stupid. Like, who do you think you are? Like,
Yeah.
literally, like I'm like, wow, it's an interesting
But it's
mental
horrible because
approach.
you put yourself through so much more emotionally as an artist. We might have to start another live in a couple minutes. It got away from me there for a bit, but it's been great chat so far.
Yeah, yeah.
But we'll have a little, and then we just have a few more questions. But I
Okay,
really
okay,
need,
okay. Yeah, yeah,
but
whatever.
conversations. I'm willing to go for the next 8 hours, but
Yeah,
you know,
I can talk about art for the rest of my life
exactly.
with moments
But
to
yeah,
make it.
the way that when we talk about that intention, like there's a gallery here, really, really huge gallery, and they had this big open night where you could go and make stuff. And I asked the one lady we had in the lift, I said, why are you guys doing this? It's very cool. And she was like, oh, because a lot of young people are afraid of us. And then the painting next to me was like £19,500. And I was like, oh, that's why, honey. People don't want to breathe anywhere near your building. That's why
Yeah,
no one wants to come in here without free alcohol or free arts and crafts. So
yeah,
it's quite funny to see how they may be struggling now to not be as, approachable.
yeah,
The snobby doesn't work anymore.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm
yeah.
going to jump off this live because
Okay.
Instagram's kicking me off, and then I'll get back on and we'll finish this off.
All right, cool.
This is good though. Okay,
All right.
see you on.
See you in a moment.
Hi, part 2. Dun, 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 dun. Oh my god, this man makes me so emotional, guys. Such a phenomenal talk, though. Just waiting for you all to come back now. Da-na-na. Hi. Thanks for coming back, y'all. Oh, I'm loving this chat. Hi, guys. Oh, it's so emotional. I'm enjoying it, though. Lots of fantastic things to talk about. Da-na-na, our conversation. Oh. Yay. I'm so sorry. I'm so gassed. This has been brilliant, man. Love talking about art, guys. Love talking to these artists. It's all very good. I'm so selfish. You're welcome. Hello, Shanita. Oh my. I feel like I have 1,000 things to say. Oh no, man. Da-na-na, da-na-na. And we are
Back.
Hi.
This is like very stressful for me to log on to it. But like I'm not good at Instagram. I actually just figured out how to do a story like 3 days ago, and it took me like a 5-hour tutoring session.
Look, we're
So
all
I feel
80s.
very accomplished.
We're all 80s babies in this room here. I rely heavily on my 90s baby sister to do anything technological, so please don't think I got it down.
All right, cool.
She does it. But now, on the back of your proudest moments and lots of great chat in between, what has been sort of your scariest or most apprehensive moments connected to your art? And how did you overcome that?
I would say that probably the scariest, most apprehensive thing is actually like the internal, probably like, I don't know if it's like some sort of weird ego modesty twist or like, or just plain insecurities of like being able to like decide that I am going to do this, basically. Like I am going to let myself be an artist and allow myself to pursue this and I guess somewhat not care what anyone thinks of that and not let any and just be okay with it. So that internal struggle is probably definitely the scariest and most. It took me a long time to be able to be okay with being like, I'm an artist. Like, it made me feel like icky. I didn't feel like I deserved it. I didn't feel like I didn't, I was worried that it was a lie. So that has been the scariest and most apprehensive thing that I had to overcome to be able to then, I don't know, have turbulence, essentially.
Yeah, that inner monologue sucks, especially when it's not on your side. That's when it's like, there's already so much other stuff, and you're like, can you not just be on my side just for 10 minutes a day?
Yep.
So we talked at length with a guy called Guillaume Hung, who specifically deals with mindfulness. And he did a lot of work with me on thoughts that don't serve you. So not necessarily the really outlandishly negative thoughts that are like, okay, that's really negative. But like trying to teach me how to let go of the things that just don't serve you. And it's really, really hard. But it's helping massively, like each day to just be like, actually, no thanks. Like, I see you, I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's incredible the amount of weight that inner voice can have. Have you ever had there ever be a moment where it was someone else's voice that became something that was negative? Not that there has been. I'm just wondering if you've experienced maybe someone close to you not understanding what you're doing and maybe not being as supportive.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've had that experience of someone kind of close to me being like, what's what, like, I don't know what you do, and you got to take a look at yourself and things like that, kind of like challenging my my character, and which they don't even line up, which makes no sense, but that, because it has nothing to do with me, but it's challenging like my character out of it, or like my level of like manhood, which is not from a sexual standpoint, but of like a responsibility standpoint, like from like are you a provider? And it's like, are you, who's, like that type of language, that type of complete toxic masculinity nonsense. Is the answer is yes. And then also, like, I would have to admit, like, I was actually been watching that, not that I'm comparing myself to Michael Jordan at all, but because I'm not, but I was watching that documentary that was on, and like, it was funny, like the pettiness of like him, like having all this, like, you like, so and so like said I wasn't the best player for that game, and it's like, so I hated him for life. Like I remember, like, yes, so I have like comments, like I remember this kid, a good friend when I was like 18, telling me I wasn't smart enough to be a lawyer. I like still think about that shit, and I'm like, I'll fucking show you.
I had a friend of mine do that to me, where he still lived at home with his mom at 30. Like, I don't judge, but I know that you're not chasing a career, doing anything like you're that type of live at home with your mom at 30. And I told him I'd started this t-shirt company, and he just went, oh, t-shirts. And I looked at him, I said, oh, green is such a stunning color on you, dude. Because I really felt awful, and then I thought, no, not today. You don't actually get to say that. And then I just sit here quietly. And he started to sort of laugh a bit sheepishly, and I was like, are you so disgusting that I've been friends with you since we were like 13, bro? And I'm starting something new, and your first thing is like, and that's when I realized, like, some people don't intentionally want you to fail, but they don't know how to succeed. And it absolutely terrifies them that there's people brave enough around them. So, wow, that's hectic, man.
Yeah, it's just
not
like,
smart.
I think it can be good. Like, it can be good in a sense. Like, it can be unhealthy and good. Like, the fact that you can, like, have these moments that then motivate you, and you use them to go back to try to like pursue something, that's good. Now, if you're living like a bitter life, like, it's gone the wrong way, right? Like, it's like, if I'm like hateful, then like, now that's my problem. But if you can be like, compartmentalize it to like be like, I'm gonna.
The internet just cut out. I can't hear you. Here you are, back.
I'm back.
Yes. I'm trying to think of where I just lost you.
What did you not hear me?
No. It went out. Oh no, the internet, and you didn't hear me, and then I
Oh,
couldn't hear.
oh, I don't know. It was probably not that important. Something about so something about like having a healthy balance, like taking moments that were like critical of you and using them as motivation in a healthy way, but not being bitter over it. Like once you become bitter over it, then it's counterintuitive. Like compartmentalizing them and using them to be like, I'm gonna prove this.
Yes.
That's like okay, I think. But
oh no, 100%. I think, but then that lies again with your way to like the intent of the words over you. Do you know what I mean? But like you say, if you're in a bitter situation or you haven't done as much work on your self-esteem, those types of words from people you care about can be derailing. They could take you off your whole path. And I don't necessarily think those people necessarily mean a negative thing when they say it. They genuinely might think that they're helping, but like you say, that's some comments can sit with you for a lifetime.
Yeah.
And you confront the person, they're like, oh, I don't even remember saying that. And you're like, oh my God. You're for real.
I've been about this shit for a decade.
Like this. It's not good. So no, it's not good.
Yeah.
But yeah, so no, sorry, carry on.
No, I was just gonna say I've come to believe that I think most times people are doing that thing. They're really ultimately projecting their own limitations on you.
Absolutely.
And not even in a nefarious way, just that like they're like, I literally can't conceptualize that being a reality. So I'm helping you out by warning you of like the impossibility of that goal. And you're like,
oh, is this yours? Oh, here you go.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. But when I want to live your life, I'll come ask you. Like they're not the same, so it's okay. But yeah, that's my last little piece on that in particular.
Yeah. And now, not to talk about this horrific pandemic, but the time that you've been locked down, how has that been for you as a creative specifically?
It was difficult. That's why I did that project, because it was like really difficult. Like it was, I kind of did one painting based off like a feeling that I had.
Sorry, can I just go to a couple pictures while you tell people what the project is?
Yes, if you were requesting me to do that, I'd have to be. I don't know how to do that. Oh,
so we have a few pictures, and this is it, right? The Art 6.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can have a look. So this is where you've taken, like, you were describing it to me yesterday. So if you can tell us all what it is that the whole concept is, because it's not just street art, like how you typically think it would be.
Yeah. So basically, it was like I don't consider myself a street artist, but I have a lot of respect for street. I love street art, and I have a lot of respect for street artists. So when I'm a painter, so I always try to find. But I like public art, so I'm like, how do I find a way to make art in the street opposed to street art? So like, how do I present it as a painting so someone like kind of feels or gets like at least the concept of like I'm approaching a painting that's in the street opposed to street art. Very nuanced semantics there, I understand, but so that's like at least the style of what I'm trying to do in a sense. Even like the wall that I painted, like I feel it's like I try to like that's a painting that I have, and I like recreating paintings that I've previously done in different formats. When I do street stuff. So that being said, the concept was essentially like I was like struggling with the feelings of all these things and the disparities you see. Like yet again, I hate the term minority in America because every single person is a minority. But
I know.
We like to
Not
classify
every
everyone.
American knows that, though.
Every American is a minority, great, but whatever. But yet again, this country has been built off the backs of Black lives through slavery, and it continues to be built off other immigrants, and so this is how, and then yet again, while the elite sit in their cushy little seats and get bailouts, the same immigrant minority Black and brown bodies are doing frontline jobs, risking their lives for fucking what, $14 an hour, and so like it's just again the disparity, and I was trying to think of like that's what ended up resonating with me, the disparity. So like the first thing was like I'm gonna do and then I was going back to that Martin Luther King speech before he died about the sanitation worker, and And I just like, I'm always like, I mean, there's probably no more prophetic statement that could be applied to this time. And who was it by? A fucking black person in America again. But let's not listen to that. And it just makes me mad.
I really struggle, and maybe it is my ignorance of not. I've been to Miami, but on my way to Jamaica. Like, I've never been to America. And I so desperately want to believe that, like, I've been taught that, you know, this is a first world country, and, you know, I still sort of feel like a kid waiting at the gate for my adult to arrive. Like, where the fuck are they? Like, I don't see courage around me at all. I don't see people really standing up, and, like, there's people that have said some real ignorant racist shit in front of me that don't say it ever again. And I do, you know, if there's anything that's around me, and I understand my white privilege, and I'll open my big white mouth as soon as I can to know that I'm helping someone. But I just feel so lost when I look around me and I see people who are supposed to be much better educated than me saying some of the most horrific, most ignorant, racist, dumb shit I've ever heard in my life, and they run countries. And they treat, like, the nurses in England have just literally gone on a freeze for their salary for 2 years, but we want to clap every Thursday for them.
Yeah.
And there's memes going like, oh, here's all the I'm feeding my kids with all your hand claps, thanks. And I'm like, oh my God, how horrific.
It's not a system that's designed for that.
But I just don't understand how, like, there's genuinely people that are under some kind of hypnotic spell of this man. Like, they don't sound uneducated when they're interviewed and talked about, but you're doing real ignorant, dumb shit. This lady was sat on a beach yesterday in America or something saying, oh, well, there's loads of wind.
Loads of wind.
Yeah,
she's just regurgitating. I mean, people, I don't know. I was like,
I don't want to depress anyone any more than I need to, but I feel so badly for people like you, not in a, I don't want it to sound offensive, but that are stuck feeling like I'm not that white person. Please don't associate me with people. And I feel exactly this. I feel so embarrassed.
I think, know what I try to do? I get what you're saying, but I think it's important, at least for me, to, like, because I agree that I am like, all right, sometimes I don't want to be lumped in, right? And have that because of my skin color. And then I need to remember there have been people that have been lumped in for 500 fucking years with their skin color. Yep. So if I have to be lumped in to a privilege, I better shut the fuck up and fucking deal with it.
But then also,
and as much as I want to fight back, and just imagine what that would be like. And I'm trying to I just need to remember that has been an experience forever that can never be wiped away. And what I'm not wanting to do is be lumped into a group. Like, what is racism? It's being lumped into a group. That is the fundamental. That is what racism is. That is why a cop can pull a trigger, because it's not a human fucking being. You are lumped into fear. Like, yes, it's racism, but it's because you don't see a human. So, and what is that? That is being lumped into a group. So if I got to be lumped into a group, tough shit.
No, 100%.
I don't like it. I don't like it. Trust me. I want to be like, but that's not me. But then I have to take a step back and check myself.
No, I always say to people, like, I know that I'm South African. I understand when I step foot on the African continent, in my soul, something changes. Yeah. It's not something I can explain to people. I'm not trying to be, just because I'm pro-black doesn't mean I hate white people. I'm not trying to, I'm just trying to say this is disproportionately not fair. And if we don't open our mouth, like my feminist movement, if there aren't men like you that stand next to me, I understand that. What's the point? I don't want a world where there's only chicks or only, like, we have to be together. But I understand that if there's a man that has the same understanding that females pose the exact same threat and benefit, we could be dumb and really smart, just like a man.
Like everyone, right?
So without strong feminist men, I know that I can't move my movement forward. So, you know, and I really struggle, but I love the way that you address these really hard things. And I know, you know, my godson is black, and I fear all the time the way my black friends are treated in England. You know, they get pulled over because we're driving around at night. I'm in my uniform in the driver's seat, in the passenger seat, and he gets out the car. I've never been with a white person in my life that's ever just got out the car to make it just an easier experience. And I was mortified. I was like, why are you getting out? He's like, oh, it's just so much easier. I was like, I pay your wage, dude. Leave him alone. And I felt so entitled, like police are supposed to protect me. And then I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, imagine.
Like I really don't even have an ounce of understanding about my privilege because this man just had to stand outside his car. And it's like a nonsense run of the mill. I don't know any white person that I've been with that's ever got out of a car. Ever.
We view them as protectors, and the opposite is viewed as an aggressor. It's like, I mean, imagine that. And it's an extension of the government, so I can't even imagine how acutely painful that can be, because they are essentially an extension of their small government. They're breaking down into municipalities, etc. But they are an extension of the government. And
it's so horrific to think
that has a constitution that says all men created equal. Yeah, okay.
But and then that's my favorite, when they're all standing with their big guns and rifles and shit. And I'm like, if they were black, they'd be like, it would be chaos.
Yeah.
And all these white men have come here on the back of vans with Confederate flags and like, and armor-piercing bullets and things. And I'm like, this isn't a movie, guys. You're dealing with real human, but like you say, the disassociation, like of the research and things that America went through to make sure that the black man wasn't viewed as a human being or the black woman is horrific.
You don't even, it's not in our school system. Like literally our school system, it's like, we learn more about, in America, we learn more about the Holocaust than we do about slavery in our school system. And it basically gets summed up. It's like, slavery was bad, Lincoln took care of it, we're the greatest country in the world, and Martin Luther King's awesome. That's basically like our school system. So why would anyone have any idea?
Yeah.
Why? Unless you go and do your own humanity, I don't know, unless you have something in you, why? It's not only a privilege given, it's then fucking taught and perpetuated from a systematic standpoint. So it's like so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Like it's like
but I think what's been so explosive to see from being in South Africa, where the racism, it's really basic. It's like any other color, I'm not on it. And then I'm like, it's still really stupid. I don't get it. So I left. But then I got here and then I was like, there's still something very wrong. And then what I realized is they did it here with class. So here it's not necessarily race, but in the lower income areas, the race tends to be a little bit darker than the higher areas. Yeah. And I realized that's all you want to do is separate us. Because you realize when there's like Grenfell Tower, I don't know if you heard about a tower that burnt down due to like negligence on the builders. Basically, they set this building on fire.
Yeah.
And they actually had to stop people donating things. They were like, we're really thankful, but we just can't take more. Yeah. And every time this happens in my local area, there's so much giving happening that I'm like, there's something fundamentally wrong when we're all so eager to help one another and strangers, but we don't get to fix any real problems, because without those problems, you can't have all the bureaucratic bullshit. Yeah, and I'm like,
basically, it's not sellable. Everyone needs to like see how it makes them like look the best instead of just doing like.
Yeah, I'd much rather kiss someone's ass who I genuinely respect and have time for than, oh, it's my manager, so one best packer up. I'm like, oh, no thanks.
Yeah.
Gross. But people genuinely, and I've watched it happen in front of me. I'm like, dude, you need to simmer down. We're in retail.
Yeah, we're in retail.
Chill, man. We're not running a country here. Just calm down.
Yeah, you get way too serious for retail.
Yeah, it's like back to the funny bit, man. But yeah, it's really scary. And the thing is, like, there was another lady telling some dude that was cycling in a park, and he asked her to put her dog on a lead, and basically she's like choking the dog while she's telling the police there's an African American man threatening me, and he's like, lady, just stay away from me. And she's like strangling this poor dog as well as putting this man's life in jeopardy. And I'm just sat there like, but don't you see the other women doing this, and aren't you ashamed or embarrassed to be doing this blatant thing? Because you'd think all the Karens would calm down, but they seem to be reinvigorated with this sense of entitlement I just don't seem to understand.
They suck.
Maybe I'm sick. Maybe I'm stupid, but I don't get it, man.
No, that was ridiculous.
Yeah, it's not fun. And I really hope.
She knew exactly what she was doing.
Oh yeah, 100%. But that's the thing. Like, you don't even have the shame of thinking, "Oh my God, this is well embarrassing and cringy."
You have to have a
really
soul.
feel like
You have to have a soul in order to have shame. But that's the thing. You have to have a soul in order to have shame. When you have no soul, when you are, I don't want to get when you're.
But black men are dying at the end of these protocols. Someone's going to die potentially. You know, it's not like a joke. Like many.
But that's the thing. So, to her, someone isn't going to die because it's not a fucking person. To her, it doesn't matter. She's better. You're worse.
Yeah. It's so
That's why you can't feel shame. Anyone that has that mentality could never feel shame because they're so detached with humanity.
Yeah.
I get too fired up for this shit.
Yeah, no, sorry. I don't like.
No.
We're starting. Let's calm down and talk about some art, shall we?
Yes, all right. So the art project was about just about like I feel the thing that was resonating most with me about this pandemic was it ended up being like disparity and not overly. It wasn't from a it wasn't like exclusively a racial standpoint or anything like that. It was just disparity. So that's why I went with that quote, and that's why I like did the thing about like rethink hierarchy and all that like language, and the think was over the head and the thought was on the heart and the food was in the mouth, and then it was just about trying to bring anything that's visually pleasant to anyone, at least for a moment. And then the other thing selfishly was just like I just needed to do something, and that was pretty much it.
That's very cool. Do you think you'll carry on doing the Art 6 project once it's done, or are you just going to see how you feel as you go?
Yeah, I'll see how I feel. Well, the city also, because I don't, it's not like I went and got like permission. So like some of them get taken down and then I was getting a little greedy. I was like, I'm going to paint tarps. So I was like, cause no one stopped me on the smaller ones. So I started painting like 10 foot by 10 foot tarps and climbing scaffolding and hanging them all over the place. And then like a couple would get taken down like right away. And I'm like, oh shit. So I'm kind of just going to like see, I have one tarp that I have hung up and I'm going to paint, and then I'm just going to see what I do with it. But it was never really designed to be to be a thing that was ongoing. It really was supposed to culminate in that painting that wall and have like a couple people come through if it could be useful for their like Saturday walk or whatever, you know. Yeah. But I'm fully addicted to it at this point. I'm like, I feel like a complete ninja. I go out late at night and I'm like wear dark clothes and run around. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, we did that. The first artist exhibition I set up like 7 years ago now, I think. We went out at night to get these subway tunnel shots with the pieces in, and we all had our balaclavas done just for the photo. Like we weren't walking around like that, and it was like the subway next to my house. There was nothing illegal at all.
Like no mask was actually needed.
No, we just did it for the photo. That's legitimately the only. You see my friend looking really annoyed, like, do we really need this photo? Yes, memories. We need it.
Yes.
Okay, and now if I can ask you my absolute favorite question of all time, and it is our last question. So if there is no money, no geographical, logistical, bureaucratic bullshit in your way, what would be the dream for Michael Conroy? Where you're with creativity underlying that dream specifically.
Okay, so I would paint. I would be able to have it like easily displayed in places that could be not like appreciated, but viewed, like just looked at, and like in it, whether that's a museum or wherever. Like it was just could be like useful. Essentially, it could be utilized and useful in the world, and maybe help people want to be better and more kind to other people. And then I would probably roam around the earth doing that. And I would probably go to, I'd probably be in London, and then I would be in Paris, and then I would be in Puerto Rico.
Okay.
And then I would be, in New York, and I would just roam around to my favorite cities in the world and put out and eat really good food and drink cold water with lemons in it.
That sounds like a
and
freaking great
delicious
idea.
coffee. A lot of very good coffee which should be involved as well.
I had to give up coffee. I'm a tea guy now. I'm so sorry. I
Yeah.
don't know about Boston and the tea stuff. I never know what it's about. Never make stupid jokes. And I'm like, oh shit, I've just said tea to someone from Boston. Are you
Yeah.
gonna punch me in the face or
Oh, I
something?
don't know. Teapot. Yeah, I don't. It's something I don't really know. I'm not that educated on
European shit.
it either.
But cool, awesome. So yeah, if you can just let us know how people can contact you to get in touch, and then yeah,
Yep.
that's it, really.
Obviously, I guess Instagram is self-explanatory on this. At M Conroy Art. My name is Michael Conroy, M Conroy, and then art, so it makes it very clean and easy. So at M Conroy Art on Instagram. The website is the same thing, mconroyart.com. The email is mconroyart@gmail. And that's yeah. That's however someone felt like reaching out through any of those means. It's fine.
Cool. Well, we had your stuff up all day, but I realized I did it a little too early, and now I'm going to put up some more of the stuff so you guys can go and have a little look through that. But yeah, you are so welcome to exhibit with us anytime you're in London. We would be so happy to host you for an exhibition. And please don't ever stop. The dialogue you're going to create is phenomenal, and I really, really appreciate artists like you. It's really brave, and you made me really sad. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome for making me sad. I appreciate it too. Thank you for being like just a good spirit and generous. It's been nice. I will come to London, and we will be in touch without a doubt.
Yeah, and guys, yes, to have a check out, go and follow him. Amazing times. Thank you for this chat. And I could have talked to you about the whole of your country for the whole of your life, but that's not okay. But yes, thank you for being positive in this course. So yeah, have a great evening and enjoy your rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.